So what is this MVVM all about? MVVM stands for Model, View, View Model, and it's an architectural pattern for implementing user interfaces. It consists of three moving parts. Model, which represents the business objects that encapsulate the data and behavior of application domain. So if you're building an application for finding flights, your application domain model includes classes like flight, location, time frame, and so on. The second moving part is the view, which is what the user sees. In Xamarin World, that means a page. And the third moving part is the view model, which is a model specifically designed for the view. So it's a class with properties that represent the state of the view and methods that implement the logic behind the view. For example, imagine we have a page with a list and a button. When the user clicks this button, a new item is added in the list. If we want to create a view model for this view, we need a class with a property like items, which is an observable collection. So this property represents the state of the view, the state of the page. This class should also have a method like add, and this method is called when we click the add button. So pretty simple, it's no magic. Now you might ask, but Mosh, what you're saying sounds like the code behind. Because in the code behind, we have this observable collection and this add method in terms of an event handler that is linked to the button. Well, not really. Code behind is not view model. As I will show you in the next lecture, code behind is tightly coupled to Xamarin. And this tight coupling makes it hard to unit test this class. So by applying MVVM pattern, we basically take all the code in the code behind, put it in a view model class, and modify it slightly so it has no coupling or minimal coupling to Xamarin. And this way, we get what we call a plain old CLR object, or POCO. That's a class that has simple properties and methods, and we can easily unit test this class. So, as you might guess, you should use MVVM only if you want to unit test your application's presentation logic. If you don't do unit testing, you really don't need MVVM. And it's actually better to write all the code in the code behind. Because as you will see in this section, MVVM involves some challenges, and sometimes you have to write a bit more code. But you do this for a reason. For decoupling your application's code from Xamarin, so you can test it. If you're not going to write unit tests for your application, you would just waste your time implementing MVVM. Let me tell you something. No end user cares how many design or architectural patterns you have used in your code. Users want applications that work, applications that are user-friendly, reliable, and fast. They don't care about MVVM. Nobody's going to give you a prize for using MVVM. So here's my pragmatic suggestion. If you're building a small or even medium-sized application, and you don't plan on writing unit tests for your application, it's perfectly fine to write all the code in the code behind. You don't need MVVM. But as your application grows larger, you would really benefit from unit testing. And that's when you start refactoring your code to make it unit testable. So don't start with MVVM right from the get-go. You would increase complexity without gaining anything. Now, just one thing. Even if you're not familiar with unit testing, I want you to watch this section thoroughly. Because the concepts I'm going to cover will help you have a better understanding of software design. I'm going to talk about interfaces, dependencies, loose coupling, and so on. So watch all the videos, and if some of them are challenging and beyond your level, that's perfectly fine. I don't expect you to walk away and be an MVVM expert. But at least I want you to hear the concepts I'm going to talk about in this section. Because it's very likely that you're going to hear these concepts again in the future. So if you have a background and you heard it once before, it's going to be much easier in the future. With all that, let's get started.